Greetings, relationshippers, Trace here, and I have been thinking, what's your type? It's like a question that's kicked around a lot in single people circles. Because, you know, humans want to know who it is that you find attractive, whether that's for their general interest or to gauge that person's interest in them. It's a legit question you've probably asked or answered before, right? Tall or short, thin or thick, loud, reserved, big whatever, small whatever. Yet, as much as you believe this describes your type, science is here to say, nah. No, probably not. Don't make a swipe left joke. Don't make a swipe left joke. Okay. So rather than bumbling our way through the grind of this match game over coffee and bagels, why don't you just say, okay, Cupid, show me some science. Whew. Okay, dodge the bullet. It's so hot today. It's like 95 degrees in San Francisco and I have no air conditioning, so I have questions. Welcome to Uno Dos of Trace, everyone, where every day is a school day. Subscribe, join us, come follow me on the social medias, and you know the drill. When people used to ask me my type, for a long time, you know, because I'm cool and aloof, I would say, I don't got one of them. I don't know why I would say that. It doesn't actually make any sense. Of course I had a type. Looking back, I think I believed I'd somehow be cooler if I was like, nah, I'm open and accepting. I'd be DTF, friend, anyone. But you know, in reality, I ended up going on dates with people who were perfectly lovely, but would never work long term or were downright toxic. We all have types. It's not a bad thing, and of course, neither is challenging ourselves to go outside that type. So for this video, we're gonna do something a little interesting and fun. Do me a favor, go to the comments and write out your type. Include physical features, sure, but also like education and beliefs, personality traits and interests. You know, don't go crazy, but do a few and, you know, post it. We'll come back to this at the end. Also, you're gonna get a free Audible deal at the end, so stick around. Real quick though, before we get into this too much, most of the studies we're about to discuss do involve mainly heterosexual relationships. That's not all relationships, and I really hope that the social science community catches up to LGBTQAI+. I am a cisgender straight male. I am a certified sexual health peer educator, so I'm gonna do my best, but no one is perfect, except maybe who can measure up to right? Okay, so video time. Have you ever broken up with someone and thought, I am never dating someone like that again? And the next thing you know, you're out on the town, you got a few drinks, and you're right back in the same pool with someone who's basically the same person. It's completely normal, and there's a lot of social scientists out there trying to understand why we do this to ourselves. Even if you don't think you have a type, like cool and aloof, you know, 20-something Trace thought, you do. By type, I mean person you tend to be drawn to in a romantic or lustful kind of way. You have this type for a number of reasons, which we're gonna get into, but though you might know your type, science has not yet perfected their typedar, so they're studying it a lot. Not as much as they should, but a lot. For example, in 2017, the University of California, Davis published a trio of studies looking at 1,000 heterosexual relationships whose self-reported data via social media and interviews. They found that people tend to date people who have similar levels of attractiveness, i.e. physical qualities. You know, 6s would date 6s, and 9s would date 9s. I think we all know this. It's the way it goes. And they pointed out that because people are fairly bad at picking their partners with an understanding of where the relationship might go, even casual dating followed this trend to date a similar level of attractiveness. I assume this level of relationship heuristic is just an easy rule to follow. I'm an attractive person, I'm gonna date other attractive people, and my relationships will work better. Whether that heuristic is good is completely up to whether the relationship works. But a huge determining factor they found, which is sort of like no duh once I tell you, is where people live. Even though you probably wrote in the comments about your type that you like people who travel or people who are ambitious or do X for a living, a lot of that is determined by where you live. People don't usually have a type that's based on, say, a specific job or role as much as they just pick people who live near them. Places where a specific job or role is common might make people qualify for something as their type, but it's probably not the type. Quick example. When I lived in DC, there are a ton of lawyers. It's not unexpected. Some people believed their type included people who were lawyers, but it was probably more akin to ambition and intelligence and other qualities encompassed by people who study law. Commonly, people who move to a new place do find a new type. Education, religion, and intelligence all fit with these local, regional types. Whether that means your school or your town or your region, if you control where people live or work in the scientific data, then we humans, with all of our ideals, we're not more or less likely to select partners based on their education, intelligence, or religion. which is crazy, right? I bet many of you put some semblance of education, intelligence, or religion on your list of things that you care about in the type in the comments. There are whole dating sites that control for religion or career or education, and they claim to be successful, but when we look at the data, humans don't seem to actually select successful partners based on these traits. This study was done over time as well, not just as a one-off, making it a little stronger in generalizability, but it was still self-reported. Like I said earlier, we commonly define our type first by physical features, like tall women with blonde highlights or short men who are athletic. But personality is far more important. We choose people based on our past experiences with relationships. Therapists say this is mainly related to our defenses. For example, when you get angry, do you yell? Maybe you'll pick a partner who yells also. Of course, you could just as likely pick a partner who submits to your yelling, because we often pick people who complement our defenses. It's completely and utterly individual, which is why studying it can be really tough. A June 2019 study from the University of Toronto use this opportunity to give myself a good fanning, because wow, it is hot today in this house. It's probably like 85 right now, probably like 85 degrees. A June 2019 study from the University of Toronto explored our type even further, with the social psychologists finding that whatever you think your type is, you really should just look in the mirror, because your type is you. Yeah, they say it's probably better to just list qualities you like about yourself. Chances are you actually like dating someone who is like you. And they say that this is, quote, more than just a tendency to date someone similar to yourself. Instead, there's a high level of consistency across a number of parameters, including agreeableness, conscientiousness, extroversion, neuroticism, and openness to experiences. And are comforted by them rather than off-put by them. People like themselves and people who compliment them. With an E, the compliment. I mean, everyone likes to be complimented, you know, if you're feeling like it. Whatever. I'm waiting for that. The researchers learned this not via self-reports. They didn't ask Jared what Jared thought of himself. No, instead they asked Jared's partners. They got real-time results that weren't self-reported, which are far more solid. And though this is a relatively small sample size of 332 people, the study was multi-year, often spanning multiple relationships. The third thing is, we tend to date people who aren't just similar to us, but are also similar to each other. Both of these studies looked at partner consistency and found we are fairly consistent in selection, in part because we don't always move house or change religions, alter our personalities or education levels in between partners. We're also consistent because of our emotional and psychological toolkit. Let me explain what that means. Throughout your life, you learn from friends, family, caregivers, society, and your intimate partners how to behave and act in certain situations. Acting correctly was rewarded, and acting incorrectly was punished or discouraged. How you interpreted and internalized those interactions affect your type. But it also determines your toolkit. If you've had a lot of partners who, say, are servers and bartenders, you might have developed a toolkit that helps you understand and work with people who maybe have night shifts, enjoy drinking culture, or have social personalities. Maybe you've become more or less jealous because you've experienced your partner being flirted with because, you know, maybe they're the gatekeeper of the local taps and liquors. They're always so darn popular. Again, it's individual and your road is your own, but generally speaking, if your new partner's personality resembles your ex-partner's personality, then it's less work for you to adjust your toolkit. You can reuse the same tools from your previous relationship or ships with the new one, and that's not always good. The reason we do this is because the human brain is really lazy. Remember when people said, learning put wrinkles in your brain? It's not actually true, but it's got a shade of truth. Our synapses have to be reforged if we start to change our behaviors. If you learn a new language or you start to work out, your brain is going to change to accommodate. In fact, no matter what you do to change your life, your brain will change too. Keep that in mind when you see X changes your brain headlines. Even if you stop working out or stop going to school, physical changes will happen in your brain to keep things efficient. Put simply, you trim out connections and grow new ones. Your brain physically changes, which does use actual energy. Because it takes effort to change our brains, we can get trapped in these types because of our toolkits. More examples would be like people who love to watch sports on weekends. You don't want to change your toolkit, not just because you like sports, but because it would mean figuring out new things to do on weekends, and that takes effort. All of these can be part of your real type. If you have the tools to work with these things, you might gravitate towards someone that fits those. The possibilities are literally endless. So now that we all know more about our type, go back to that comment that you wrote about the type at the beginning. Think about how we've controlled for all of these different things. Is the type similar in education or religion? Are they similar in attractiveness level? Let's say those cancel out. What about traits that you both share? Are you both extroverted or introverted? Conscientious or risky? Do you both drink a lot or a little? Are you both religious or no? Do you have similar levels of education? Are you from the same school, the same town, the same region? Do you enjoy the same activities? All of those cancel out. We're basically taking you out of your type. The interesting thing to me is what is left with it at the end. If it's anything, that is interesting. If it's nothing, that is also really interesting because it tells you about you and what you value in a partner. It can help us better understand ourselves and our chosen people. Social sciences are sometimes given a lot of crap, and that is deserved at times. That's why I like to list the numbers of people in a study, the number of months or years the study took when it's longitudinal, and sometimes details about the method, because self-reported results aren't always as reliable. But generally speaking, the more people you have in a study, the longer its duration, the better and more trustworthy that study might be. This is because the more people you talk to, up to a point, the closer you get to a sample of the general population, the lesser your margin of error will be. And of course, it also depends on the method that they use to get those data, which is why I give you all of that information either in the links or verbally in the video. Designing the questions to be unbiased and clear is a skill. Not everybody has that skill, and some actively manipulate questions to get answers they want or a better p-value or statistical significance. This is a huge topic, actually. We could do a whole video about this, so let me know if that's something you're interested in the comments. In the end, having a type makes sense because our brains are lazy. We spent our life developing a set of tools to deal with other people, and we want to use those tools to find someone who lives nearby and compliments us. It's a sense of security. I know this person, I get how they'll react to this or that, and I can handle it. This also applies with how you think, values you share, activities you like, how to choose spend your time, and TV shows you enjoy. Type is more than just physical features. It's a lot of things, which makes it very difficult to study and powerful, so powerful when you get a good match. For example, my partner and I were talking recently, and I realized completely without meaning to that it had been a while since I've read a book where the author is a woman. So I went to Audible, and most recently I tucked into The Power by Naomi Alderman. Highly recommend. It's about a fictional future where women develop the power to shoot static electricity from their bodies, and it's so powerful, and it shows how the social structures and norms and roles our society are built on are disrupted all around the world, and again, it's only women who get the power. I loved it because it's such an incredible way to think about how we've chosen to put together our society and what can happen to change it. Super cool, check it out. Because you watch Uno Dose of Trace, you can also get a 30-day free trial of Audible. It supports the show as well. Go to audible.com/trace or text TRACE to 500-500. You'll get a whole month for free. There's never been a better time to start listening on Audible. Audible has the largest selection of audiobooks on the planet, and now with Audible Originals, the selection has gotten even more custom with content made for members. Audible. The most inspiring minds, the most compelling stories, and the best place to listen. Again, go to audible.com/trace or text TRACE to 500-500. There's a link on the screen and in the description. And remember, it supports the show. It's good for you and it's good for me. Thanks. I love the social sciences. I chose to get a degree in them after all because it helped us understand ourselves. In this case, it might help us understand why we chose our partner or what we can do to choose a better partner in the future. It could help us strengthen the bond that we have with our current partner and help us understand ourselves so much better when it comes to romance and relationships, which is awesome and something that is difficult to learn a lot about. Thank you so much for watching. This is all the patrons. Thank you guys. You guys are the best. Without you, I couldn't have gone to CERN in Geneva. That video is coming out very soon, I promise. I'm super excited. I really appreciate you watching, sharing, liking, commenting. Every video is getting more views and we're gaining subscribers, and I love it. Thanks again for watching. I'm Trace. I hope you learned something. I know I did. I'll see you in the future.